Deep within the beating western heart of the enigmatic lands of Montana, an ancient mountain range stands tall, its snow-capped peaks piercing the heavens above. Encompassing a vast expanse of nature's finest, the Pryor Mountains offer an unparalleled panorama of breathtaking views, where lush, colorful valleys interlace with steep crags and pristine meadows below. It's here one's mind is often humbled by the overwhelming peace that flows through the tranquil environment. But beyond its picturesque exterior, this memorizing landscape radiates an air of mystery to those who gaze upon its splendor. The nearby Crow Nation, who have inhabited the region for centuries, have woven legends into the very fabric of this land, breathing life into tales about those who came before, those who used to roam in harmony with their ancient terrain. Investigating these spellbinding stories could lead some into the mighty hills not far from their reservation, and if surveyed carefully, with the help of a sharpened eye, one might potentially discover an assortment of aged petroglyphs dotting the hidden corners of the mountains, depicting astonishing figures and abnormal history. But oddly, sparse rumors drifting through the echoes of time insist several of these illustrations are not in fact man-made, but rather created by those who once called the sprawling range their home. Whispers among the Crow Nation speak of other inhabitants who have made shelter amidst the mountain's grandeur, a mysterious race of dwarvish creatures said to possess spiritual powers beyond mortal comprehension. Whether or not they continue to roam the rocky cliffs remains to be known. Welcome back, everyone, to this brand new episode on the Moonlight Lore podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Hopkins, and this is the legend of the little people of the Pryor Mountains. Within the untamed embrace of the Pryor mountain range, an undeniable and profound connection to nature's masterpiece unfolds before us. It's here time appears suspended, and the whispers of bygone eras echo past the ancient stones and into lively meadows, leaving one in awe of the grand design. As history reveals itself, the Crow tribe's arrival in this mystical region unveils a tale imbued with resilience and determination. Driven by the unabating winds of fate, the Crow tribe was compelled to abandon their ancestral homeland near the tranquil shores of Lake Erie. The decades of relentless strife and unyielding conflicts in the east had left them no choice but to embark on a desperate journey across the vast northern plains, seeking refuge to ensure their survival. Along their courageous adventure, they discovered new alliances with the Kiowa and Plains Apache bands, who extended a helping hand in securing the wandering tribe's foothold in the west. In a fierce bid for control, the Crow Nation usurped the local residents of the land, the Shoshone tribe, who were driven into the southwest and yielded their position as caretakers for the territory. In their stead, the Crow people joyfully found the peace they had yearned for, becoming guardians in the shadows of the Pryor Mountains. Amidst a turbulent past filled with fierce war and enduring negotiations, they found their rightful place in the foothills, a sanctuary destined to be their everlasting home, offering the promise of both prosperity and growth. Within this unspoiled kingdom, abundant blessings awaited the Crow tribe. Nature's cornucopia gifted them deer, elk, bears, and untamed herds of wild mustangs, which provided sustenance, clothing, and a reliable means of transportation. Sacred wisdom told them if they cared for it, nurtured the land they were so gracious for, it would protect and sustain them in return. Knowledge passed down throughout the generations had taught the Crow people the secrets they would need to ensure the task was met, though their generational wisdom and spiritual guidance neglected to warn them of those who dwelled beneath the mountains. The tranquility of their newfound home did well in deceiving the Crows of the inherent dangers that enveloped the region, The previous occupants, the Shoshone people, spoke whispers of those who roamed the nearby hills. They would come out after dark to compassionately gaze upon the beauty of the twinkling starlight above, yet their blackened eyes would be led astray to the distant campfires of the settlements below, a roaring blaze of disdain filling their stone-cold hearts. As the glow of the moonlight filled the night air, it was told these scurrying mountain folk would venture down from their rocky habitat, leaving behind a wave of chaos and mayhem in their wake. As a form of retaliation for encroaching upon their domain, their mischief knew no bounds as they allegedly resorted to the most heinous of crimes. Kidnapping the Shoshone children who slept peacefully in their beds became a common occurrence, or savagely tearing the still-beating hearts from the chests of the tribe's noble horses. It was a threat that loomed over the mountainside, intimidating anyone who dared journey near the crumbling slopes. With the Shoshone now gone, the Crows were left to learn of these violent mountain marauders through their own experiences. Few witnesses would see these erratic little creatures darting from behind boulders to remain out of sight. Travelers would share tales of this mysterious society, detailing their supernatural tenacity and crude curiosity. Those of the Crow Nation soon learned, so long as those who secluded themselves amidst the rocky terrain remained confined there, those of their wandering tribe would continue to be wary of disrupting their delicate hospitality. The harmonious dance between the known and the unknown, the tangible and the mystical, is one that should always be done with reverence. It was during this time, in the shadow of the mountains, the Crow tribe would establish themselves. They found a sense of belonging in tending to matters that reached beyond the rocky borders, and they found solace in the knowledge that their neighbors seemed to feel a similar way. Both remained in their respective environments, treading lightly upon the sacred, unspoken agreement that neither would cross the other's path. In all great annals of folklore, an inevitable juncture where the threads of fate intertwine and destiny unfurls is often woven into a historic tapestry. Deep within the enchanting realm of the Pryor Mountains, the little people who dwelled there found themselves inexplicably drawn towards those who thrived in the vast expanse of the Great Plains, and those who watched the unmoving, protruding hills from afar felt a similar urge overcome them. Time would seemingly conspire to kindle their shared curiosity into a potential connection, a fusion of two civilizations yearning to explore the other's domain and learn about the other's culture. As the years continued to pass by, the two communities slowly strengthened their bonds. The Crow tribe bestowed the little folk a name, the Nirumbee, denizens of the Pryor. With the occasional offerings of food, jewelry, or pelts left behind by those few who traversed through their territory, sightings of these elusive creatures grew more frequent, affording the Crow people a means to distinguish them. According to Crow mythology, the Nirumbee are short creatures standing no higher than 3 feet tall. Their heads are abnormally large for their bodies, which is especially peculiar as they seem to lack a neck for support. Sharpened teeth, large noses, and bushy eyebrows mirror their gently protruding potbellies, creating a curious physique that would leave anyone to look upon them with a second glance of intrigue. And though their disturbing appearance and miniature stature may lead some to believe these creatures are no more harmful than that of a human child, they also happen to possess a certain supernatural prowess or legendary strength that rivals the mightiest of human warriors. While they had become renowned as formidable adversaries of the Shoshone tribe, fiercely defending their cherished land from those who dared to usurp them, they became unusually restrained and respectful when it came to dealing with those who hailed from Crow settlements. One such example that illustrates the softened relationship between the Crow people and the Nirumbee is the tale of Plentycoops, a young man who later in his life was recognized as one of the last greatest chiefs of a bygone era. Driven by an innate curiosity and deep desire to connect with the spiritual essence of the land from a young age, At 9 years old, Plentycoops embarked on a soul-searching quest into the heart of the Pryor. For 4 long days and nights, he fasted and meditated atop the summit of Bighorn, searching for guidance that would lead him down the path of knowledge that would save his tribe. Upon the 4th day of his retreat, as the sun bathed the mountainside in a warm hue, Plentycoops was besieged by a vibrant vision of the little people who wandered the rocks. They approached the nearly catatonic man as he stared in pure astonishment, gesturing for him to follow them. Trusting in the visions before him, Plentycoops rose to his feet, knowing these were the fabled residents of the Pryor, and embarked on a journey down the mountain. Escorted by his mysterious guides, he was brought to a cryptic entrance hidden in stone, leading into the sacred sanctuary of the Nirumbee. It was here he would meet the leader of their tribe and be adorned with an extraordinary gift, the knowledge that he had been desperately seeking. He would one day lead his people to greatness and accomplish many fantastical deeds during his lifetime, claimed the dwarf chieftain. He would ensure the Crow tribe's existence in a fast-changing world and would be known across the land as a legendary leader. The auspicious prophecy echoed through Plentycoop's mind. It invigorated him, infusing a sense of purpose. At such a young age, the yearning boy wanted nothing more for these premonitions to manifest, though his short life soberly lacked any such glory or legendary feats that would propel him towards distinction. Later, he would recall his experience as so. I had a will and I would use it, make it work for me, as the dwarf chief had advised. I became very happy, lying there looking up into the sky. My heart began to sing like a bird, and I went back to the village, needing no man to tell me the meaning of my dream. I took a sweat bath and rested in the father's lodge. I knew myself now. As the threshold of adulthood drew near, Plentycoops honed and matured his senses, sharpening his wit. He dedicated himself to study and followed the spiritual wisdom bestowed upon him by the Nirumbee chieftain. Just as predicted, the world began to shift and transform before Plentycoop's watchful eyes. A thundering tide of change began to set in. White men, embroiled in the ceaseless conflicts over the West, began to draw near. Plentycoops only saw one conclusion from this violent shift of power. As white settlers pushed further west, staking claims and building their fledgling communities, the Sioux and Cheyenne tribes rose in defiance, determined to repel the unstoppable rush. Amid the chaos, Plentycoops recognized the pivotal crossroads upon which he and his people stood. The destiny of the Crow Nation hung precariously upon his shoulders, a burdened responsibility that demanded a decisive choice. With the crushing weight bearing down on him, Plentycoops was forced to contemplate his options. Forging an alliance with the white settlers or standing alone in the face of their campaign. Their traditional adversaries, the Sioux and Cheyenne, loomed as a secondary threat, both of whom would not hesitate to begin a war with the Crows should the opportunity allow itself. He envisioned a future where his people could not only survive but also thrive. Ultimately, Plentycoops deemed that particular future was only attainable by following the path of cooperation. It was a decision that became a beacon that would guide his people forward into the 20th century during a time of uncertainty. The alliance between the Crows and non-Native American settlers proved promising. The Sioux and Cheyenne tribes fell victim to the overwhelming force and suffered defeat after defeat as the modern world grew into its infancy. When the time came and the Crows' way of life appeared secure and cemented into the halls of history, Plentycoops shared a quote that would later become widely recognized. Education is your greatest weapon. With education, you are the white man's equal. Without education, you are his victim, and so shall remain all your lives. Study, learn, help one another, always. Remember, there is only poverty and misery and idleness in dreams, but in work, there is self-respect and independence. To this day, Plentycoop's legacy resonates an aura of respect and admiration as he continued to prove himself time and time again as both a capable warrior and passionate leader throughout his entire life. With each triumphant battle, whether it be bloody or diplomatic, his authority would reverberate across the land and through the generations that followed. He became the leader the Nirumbee had foretold, a beacon of strength and wisdom for his people. Despite the benevolence the Nirumbee extended towards their crow neighbors, a shadow of animosity also cloaked their interactions with those who threatened the natural balance that had been nurtured between the two societies. Those who called themselves the previous caretakers of the land, the Shoshone, along with members of the Cheyenne and Sioux tribes, found the mysterious denizens of the Pryor Mountains to be less than hospitable towards their presence. Legends have drifted throughout the echoes of time when members of these three tribes found themselves assailed or driven out by the enigmatic little people living in the mountains. During a particularly uncertain time when the boundaries between the Crow territory and that of the Cheyenne and Sioux began to blur, a tense encounter unraveled upon the rocky slopes of the Pryor. With deep anticipation and an eagerness to expand their territory, a war party of over 300 Sioux warriors had found themselves deep within the heart of the mountain range, their malicious intentions as clear as the sharpness of their weapons. As they traveled along the treacherous terrain, they were inexplicably met with the formidable sight of a troop of armed Nirumbee, the sinister name they had cautiously called the Little Folk, translation, People Eater. Pointed arrows tipped with dripping poison were drawn towards the armed foes of the Crow Nation. There on the slopes of the Pryor, an endless standoff ensued. The legend does not claim who struck first, but as the arrows flew and axes clashed, a swift and decisive resolution found itself. With unmatched skill and precision, the Nirumbee, or Nirumbee, claimed victory over the Sioux invaders, banishing the few surviving would-be slayers from their homeland. Numerous tales of similar nature spring forth as we search further through the annals of history, recounting the times of when unsuspecting and uninformed travelers traversed the region. The renowned Lewis and Clark expedition, which embarked on its storied journey at the start of May in 1804, reverberates a foreboding record of when they learned of these enigmatic creatures who dwelled in Montana. Months of travel would lead the party to seek the hospitality of the Sioux tribe, providing a chance for both worlds to collide and allow a cultural exchange to unfold. But it was within the words of this newly formed bond would the expedition be gifted a solemn warning. Hushed whispers among the Sioux told cautionary tales of when their members had been assailed by devils. The nearby mountains were fraught with peril and inhabited by creatures that defied comprehension. As the horrific stories unfurled from the lips of the concerned tribespeople, a looming shadow was cast by their words. It was a realm forbidden by the very essence of fear itself. Those esteemed and renowned in bravery shied away from this foreboding expanse, turning their valiant hearts away in dismay. Danger lurked in those mountains. Any soul foolish enough to venture into them risked the probability of never escaping. 100 years later, after the expedition warily escaped beyond the clutches of the Pryor, the Burlington Railroad made the uniform decision to carve out a tunnel for the rail line set to connect Billings, Montana to Cody, Wyoming, inadvertently triggering an unsettling reaction from within the depths of the darkened rock. The vibrations resulting from the deep blasting continuously disturbed the mountain and those who were set to be its protectors. As a result, recurring collapses and disastrous setbacks delayed the work tenfold. A shadow of suspicion was quickly cast on the Nirumbee as potential orchestrators, a scapegoat for the misfortunes of humanity. Entwined in a web of blame, the Nirumbee were accused of releasing chaos upon those who dared disrupt their home. Odd epidemics took hold of the miners, some speculating smallpox or typhoid fever. Regardless of whatever the virulent disease truly was, it allegedly claimed the lives of 10 dedicated railway workers, further exasperating the ominous reputation of the mountain. As the rail line was nearing completion, the workers were hesitant to look back at the memories of misfortune that plagued the tunnel. The very world had seemed to resist the human expansion under the earth. Cave-ins persisted as if defying attempts to secure a smooth passage. Fires burst to life resulting from the heated engines that ran on the tracks, swallowing up the surrounding woodland that lay near the doorstep of the borough. Tools and equipment were seemingly sabotaged in the night, leaving behind mounds of machinery left inoperable and rusting. Some may call that simple bouts of bad luck, a world ridden with poor technology that prevented a pursuit for a more comfortable life. But others claim the mayhem and hardship that stemmed from the tunnel's creation bore witness to a series of eerie events that evoked an enigmatic interplay between the human endeavors and the ancient forces that seem to hold sway over the mystical heart of nature. Similar enchanting stories about the Nirumbee emanate from within the ancient stones that make up the Pryor Mountains to this very day, every one of them just as mysterious and spellbinding as those that came before. It leads one to wonder if any of this is real. Do the Nirumbee truly exist? As is the case with so many of life's most profound curiosities, there's often more to it than what first meets the eye. Rumors of dwarf-like creatures inhabiting the vast continent radiate from a variety of ancient tales. One merely needs to explore through the expansive dossiers pertaining to the myths of the northern tribes to gain a true understanding that the Nirumbee, as distinctive and isolated as they are not unique entities. Little folk similar in descriptions and mannerisms are quite literally in every corner of North America. From the high Arctic expanse emerge captivating tales woven by the local Inuits. They tell amazing stories regarding a race of enigmatic little people who reside deep within the mountain caves that dot the frozen landscape. In Eskimo tongue, they are known as Inar-Utulagek, elusive little elves with pointed ears and dark black eyes who traverse the vast expanse of frosted tundras in remarkable haste, presumably through their use of magic. From their modest stature, they are able to effortlessly transmute themselves into the likeness of humans, animals, or even inanimate objects should the situation call for it. Their whimsy spirit and fondness for dancing will, on occasion, lead them into precarious situations, but they are often regarded as a benevolent race. Emerging from the intricate tales of Algonquin folklore, we can also encounter the peculiar race of little people known as the Pukwudgie, a subject we have touched upon previously in the past. Much like the Nirumbee, these ethereal tricksters are esteemed guardians of their environment, protecting the forests of the eastern United States with miniature bows and pointed arrows. If the need arises, their uncanny magical abilities are said to allow them to shapeshift, disappearing in a moment's notice, or produce lights that may lead impetuous hikers astray. They are considered among the more nefarious of little people, but they are said to still enjoy a laugh or two at the expense of humans. North America also does not hold exclusive claims to sightings or interactions with peculiar races of small creatures. Spanning the entirety of Earth, an abundance of myths emerge from diverse and foreign communities with a common thread. Stories of interacting with diminutive beings brimming with magical prowess. For instance, there's the Lutins, charming yet mischievous gnome-like creatures entrenched in the history of French folklore. In the haunting landscapes of Iceland, notorious elves perpetrate their playful pranks wherever their steps may lead. Journey down under to Australia and one might encounter the Mimis, ethereal fairy entities who find their place in the heart of Aboriginal legends. Then, venturing west, one can find the Azazas, enigmatic forest dwellers who inhabit the narrative of West African lore. Then, a peculiar and captivating incident that warrants a brief mention is the astonishing discovery made by two prospectors in Carbon County, Wyoming, in 1932. Cecil Main, along with his partner, Frank Carr, were engaged in the arduous task of blasting away a stone barrier that hid a vein of sparkling gold behind it. As their dynamite dismantled the mountain and as the dust began to settle, to their amazement, a small room within the mountain had inadvertently been unveiled. Inside this tightened space was a singular figure, the mummified remains of a mysterious little creature no taller than 6 inches and weighing only a single pound. The San Pedro mummy, as it was later christened, became an astounding sensation for communities dedicated to the supernatural. While scientists contested that the X-rays taken of the mummy revealed it was likely the remains of an infant, those bound in the realms of cryptozoology and ufology hailed the mummy as a testament to the existence of beings beyond our ordinary understanding. One day I certainly hope to dedicate an episode pertaining to this amazing little statue, but the point I'm currently trying to get across is that despite being separated by thousands of kilometers of forests, mountains, or oceans, humanity has seemingly been introduced to a common connection. A connection that defies geographical distances, the expanse of time, and beyond the realms of comprehension. Myths, experiences, and shared beliefs. Many of them say there is more to our world than we have yet to fully acknowledge. Perhaps the ancient tales told by the Crow tribe ring true, that somewhere deep within the heart of the Pryor Mountains, there is a mysterious race of little people called the Nirumbee, who continue to watch over their sacred domain to this very day. Thank you everyone for listening to this fascinating episode about the denizens of the Pryor Mountains, the Nirumbee. I find the whole phenomenon of little spirit folk who reside in particular corners of our world to be a fascinating topic. So like I just said, I may touch on this topic once more in regards to the San Pedro mummy. If you enjoyed this episode and want to possibly lend your support to the podcast, I ask you please consider leaving a 5-star review on whatever app you're listening on. It only takes a second to do, not everyone does it, but it does go a long way in helping the podcast grow. Another way to help the show grow is by sharing your favorite episode on social media for your friends and family to enjoy, or simply sharing it by word of mouth helps a great deal too. I always love hearing when people are introduced to the show by their friends or family, so thank you all of you who do. And lastly, the best way to show your support is by donating to the Patreon. By doing that, you help me manage the costs that come with running the show, like hosting fees, website upkeep, and recording software subscriptions, but you also get a few neat treats while signing up over there. The biggest draw would likely be the bonus episodes I put up over there every month that the public doesn't necessarily get to hear. There are other perks on there too, so if you are curious about what they are, just send me a message through email at moonlightlorepodcast@gmail.com or through Instagram, or simply just going to Patreon and checking it out. With all that said, I do believe we are nearing the end of this episode. The only news I got here is not the greatest news, unfortunately. I'm just swamped with work right now, so the next episode might have another slight delay like this one had, but I will always try and get them out as soon as I can. Sorry in advance, though, if it is late. Anyways, I hope you all have a great couple weeks as we begin to wind down the summer and slowly enter the autumn season. Be sure to keep safe out there and keep being the amazing people you are. And until next time, take care.